South Florida gets smart, sassy, and sophisticated. We're all things fab in Miami. This is Miami Now. In the movies, one person or even words can be a turning point. But what about in real life? Captive is the inspiring true story of Ashley Smith. She was a recovering addict and single mom held hostage by escaped killer Brian Nichols, played by David Oyelowo. Smith reads Nichols the best-selling book The Purpose-Driven Life while he held her hostage in her apartment for 7 hours.
David, you've played very inspirational roles from people characters who started out as being very positive. Note Selma. In this movie, it's a detour from that. Where did you find, or where should your fans find the inspiration in this character?
Well, I think the inspiration for me, and the reason I wanted to do the film within this story is Ashley Smith. I was less enamored with the idea of playing Brian Nichols, a guy who murdered 4 people in a day, than with how what he did went on to impact Ashley Smith. That to me is truly inspiring, because this is a meth addict in terms of Ashley Smith, who had lost custody of her daughter because of her drug habit. She had lost her husband in a murder, in a drug-related incident. Her life was on a complete downward spiral. And this guy, she had watched him on the news in that day, and then suddenly he's on her doorstep. And she said to me herself, the real Ashley Smith, she said, when he turned up on my doorstep, I felt this was God's way of saying I've messed up so much that I deserve death. And actually the fact that beyond this event, having out of desperation really read The Purpose-Driven Life to him, had this exchange with him where they really kind of were able to talk about being parents who had made choices that kept them away from their kids, and that led to him letting her go and giving himself up. That's a miraculous circumstance. So even though my character isn't particularly inspiring, I think the story is.
And your research for this character, you really couldn't get, to have access to this character, so you relied on Ashley. Mental health has been an issue within the news lately, and gun violence. Has this impacted your stance or your perspective on those issues?
Absolutely. I think mental health and I think gun culture generally in America are big issues. We see it in the news far too frequently and increasingly, it would seem to me. I think as it pertains to Brian, that there were definitely signs that this is someone who should be paid special attention. I wouldn't want to generalize in terms of him specifically. He claims not to have committed the rape that he was on trial for. And the truth of the matter is, even speaking to his mother, she is still, 10 years on, so shocked by the fact that her son did this and that this is her life. So this is one of those instances where it was a perfect storm of the fugue state that Brian found himself in, the fact that he was able to get the gun of the person who was putting him in the jail. I mean, Atlanta has had to completely relook at the way they conduct prisoners within the courthouse and things like that. But at the end of the day, this was a very specific incident, and as it pertains to gun culture, I come from the UK, where we just don't have guns to the degree that we have them here, and it does make a difference. Accessibility to them and just an attitude towards them. One of the things we also had to really pay attention to in this film is not glamorizing the violence. You have someone like Brian Nichols, big guy, 2 guns, wearing a suit, no shirt on. That's normally the kind of character we see in movies as the hero. So, that was something else. We were trying to make sure we don't glamorize the violence in order to be culpable for, also making someone out there feel like this is a cool thing to do.
And to kind of change direction before we go, I'm not sure, I know you chose this, you came on as a producer, not just an actor for this movie, so it shows that it hits a chord with you. You have a Nigerian background. I'm from the Caribbean. I just want to know, is there a Nollywood film that you would want to produce?
You know what? The Nollywood film industry is gaining in momentum. I'm very, very proud of it as a Nigerian myself. I think that, you know, my involvement with it, to be perfectly frank, would be to up production value and to bring our culture as storytellers to the world in general. And I think in order to do that, you want to, not unlike with Captive, you know, because Captive could be perceived as a faith-based movie, another niche, another genre that has, I think, suffered from low production value, not very well written, not very well acted. The same thing could be, accusation could be leveled at Nollywood. And so anything I'm involved with, I want to elevate. And so, you know, that would be my entry point into Nollywood, which is something I'm very desirous to do.
Oh, great. So hopefully I got a scoop on that. Thank you.
Captive is rated PG-13 and is in theaters September 18th. For Miami Now TV, I am Michelle Madison.